Outreach Committee meeting of the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District for Friday, May 7th. And with that, I'll ask Joelle to call the roll for us.
Yes. Director Paul?
Here.
Director Anderson?
Here.
Supervisor Chair Adams?
Here.
Let the record reflect that all committee members are present.
Thank you. And I will take it out to the public and see if there are any members of the public present who would like to comment on any item within this district's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda for today.
All right, so if you're joining us and if you would like to make public input, please raise your hand. If you're dialing in, push *9. We'll give it a couple of seconds here. And Supervisor Adams, I do not see anybody who wish to make public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you very much, Joelle. Now let's move right forward into the action items. And the first action is to consider adoption of the February 22nd, 2021 committee meeting minutes. Have people had an opportunity to review the minutes?
I have. I did not see any corrections to be made.
Very good. Ms. Anderson?
Yeah, I did. I also did, and I didn't see anything.
Excellent. Good. Okay. With that, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the adoption of the minutes.
I so move.
Thank you.
A second.
Great. So we have a motion by Director Paul and second by Director Anderson. Please do a roll call vote for us.
Director Paul?
I mean, auditor vote, yeah.
Director Paul?
Yes.
Director Anderson?
Yes.
Supervisor Chair Adams?
Aye. Thank you. The motion passes
unanimously.
Thank you. And now we are going to provide direction on the outreach program following the establishment of strategic planning goals. So that is going to come down through here, and I'm expecting that we'll have a staff presentation on that.
Yes, you do. I'll be giving a presentation. Nick is here from TMD, and he's here so that he can also understand where we're going for our next fiscal year, given that you've now adopted a strategic plan. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And so hopefully you all can see this. I know it depends on where you have your, where your faces are on your screen, but this is the goals that were adopted. There were 6 goals adopted. The entire report is in your packet, so if you want to refer to that as well. Of those, I looked through those and kind of pulled out the ones that I think are related to outreach. And that's going to be the focus of your discussion today. Those include building the case for Pure Water Monterey expansion with the state regulators and the community through meetings, filings, and presentations as needed. The holding of a hearing of public necessity later this year. Related to Measure J, develop a public awareness campaign with district outreach consultant for quarters 3 and 4 of 21. And 22. So we're actually in quarter 4 of 21 at this point. So we'll need to look forward on that one. Leadership, conducting the community engagement meetings with each division on water related topics. And then the board also wanted to conduct a constituent survey and a customer survey. And so we've got both of those, and TMD has done those surveys, and I think Nick can add a little bit to that at some point here. So anyway, but the bottom line on the end of this is that we'd like you to discuss and provide direction on outreach plan for 2021-22 so that we can prepare, the marketing consultant can prepare a proposal, and we can come up with a budget for your consideration in June. And I think that will conclude my sharing. And Dave, did you want to add anything to that, or is that?
Well, actually, I'd like to just hear from the committee what they think is a priority on the surveys, because that'll be a cost item. The constituent survey is more of you know, kind of not unlike what Cal-Am's done in the advance of Measure J and so forth, where you're reaching out to the entire district just to find out their opinion of the district, how they value Measure J in public water, what they think some of the strengths and weaknesses might be, and so forth. Whereas a customer survey is actually taking folks who pulled permits from us of all variety and going back and just assessing their customer experience, front counter, over the phone, the actual issuance, and so forth. They're a little bit different. One is targeted to people who we know have been served, and the other is just constituent based. So I'd like to hear a little discussion of that. I think that the presentations to each division can be kind of crafted talking to each director independently, but if you've got opinions on that, I'd like to hear that too, so we can start contemplating what to do there.
So as I heard your comments, are you saying that the customer survey is really more operational?
Yeah, so when Dr. Garcia—
How good a job are we doing, sort of thing?
So when Dr. Garcia had his independent interviews with each of you, and I don't know which director it was or if it was more than one, but there was the customer experience. And I was surprised because we always hear back, oh, we love your staff, and oh, I miss coming in for permits. Gabby's so nice. Your people are so great. You know, we always hear real positive things. We're like, great, you guys are doing good. You're the face of the district, because all the other stuff that we're getting pounded on, at least they're having a happy experience when they come into the building. But his takeaway from whoever he interviewed was that it was not a positive experience. So that's customer based. That's actually operational. The constituent is just, you know, that would probably give us some sense of where our whole effort is going on the acquisition, how the district is perceived. Do people think we can actually take on the job of running the water utility, you know, kind of big picture stuff versus the operational experience. Yeah.
Great. So that's more future oriented and sort of a can we do it approach. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Do we have the things in place to do it? Great. Okay. As I had heard in the report that Stephanie gave, there were several goals that are far more related to the outreach committee. And I'm wondering if you, since all of us have, I expect them right in front of us, can you just tell us which goals you were referring to by numbers so we know which ones we should be looking at as we have our next discussion? Right.
So the customer survey and the constituent survey are actually split. The constituent survey is in the—
that's in the
number 5. Yep.
Yeah.
And customer survey is in number 6.
Yep.
And the outreach to each director division is in
number 5.
I'm sorry, I probably should have put those numbers for you.
All right.
Yeah, that's a number 5. That's F.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yes.
Is it
Karen?
A couple preliminary thoughts, and there's a risk of stating the obvious. The constituent survey, I think of as a sort of dual purpose, and that's for us to gather information, but also to provide information, educate the public about what we're doing. In terms of the water supply efforts, the Carmel River mitigation, and the Measure J acquisition efforts. That's one thought that we can, one way to think about anyway, is that dual purpose. And I'd also like to try and find out from that survey how much people know about what the district does.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and those kind of surveys, and Nick, feel free to weigh in, but
Right.
typically have, like leading questions so that, you begin to discover like, are you aware that the district rescues fish? No. Oh, well, okay. I guess we've done a bad job of publicizing, what we do and so forth. So, but I agree with Karen, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's the right way to do the education piece, is by phrasing those questions in that right. But what you want to do is you want to try to keep it short, because people's attention span, rule of thumb is 10, no more than 15 questions. And typically, on online surveys in particular, because we'll be primarily doing this electronically, people's attention spans are very, very short. We're living in a TikTok world.
Yeah.
So I think, as far what we could do at the end of the survey is we could do something like, for more information about, the things that we're doing, click this link below and find out more, so that we can direct them back to the website. That'd be my recommendation, as opposed to trying to add a few paragraphs of,
Right.
Yeah. And it also kind of sometimes seems like a sales pitch. If you're at the same time you're doing a survey, you're saying, here's all the great things we're doing now. Now tell us back.
Yeah. Are you trying to find out something? You're trying to sell me something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick, in this day and age, what's the effectiveness of telephone surveys? And have you partnered with any firms that do the telephone?
We don't do them anymore. We've stopped the telephone survey. I mean, who likes a telemarketer here, right? And
yeah, no.
I'm sorry,
Who answers it when it says spam risk?
Yeah. And believe it or not, when I started my career, I worked for ITT in telemarketing, and that's what I did. And, people liked us back then, but no one likes a telemarketer today. So
yeah, it's interesting because in 2018, in advance of the election, there were some phone calling campaigns that obviously were done by Cal-Am, but the first 4 or 5 questions, excuse me, were seemingly unrelated to anything. And then they started honing in on water supply and the district and the actual ballot. And most people that brought it to my attention were really annoyed by it. So I get what you're saying. The problem with SurveyMonkey and MailChimp and all the email address are typically people who are already interested in district activity. So that getting a bigger base of email addresses to do a survey to that would include the less engaged is going to be challenging, because I think that we've got 2 email bases, one of which is our distribution list, which already are people who are active or at least interested. So we'll have to work on that one a little.
Well, and what's important for statistical relevance is a sample size. So in theory, you don't have to survey everybody that you serve, as long as you have a decent sample size. For example, the California Department of Public Health sent out a piece of paper to everybody. I'm sure you guys got it, with a survey that you could go take online. I'm not so sure how effective this is, but I mean, if you wanted to do something that was more effective, you could do a statement stuffer in your statements with a QR code that would take them to a survey. That would be relatively inexpensive to do, or put a message on the statement. So if you wanted to get a bigger sample size, bigger than what you have in your, the other thing I got
in your email
was a $1 bill from Nielsen. This is from Nielsen.
Oh.
And this is entitled, "Can you make a difference in the Monterey Salinas area?" And this is a 21-page survey that Nielsen Data put out.
I always turn it in because I love that money.
Well, exactly. And I got my $1. So you know what they say now, that $1 it won't buy me a cup of coffee. So But the point is, there's a lot of different techniques, but I'm not sure this is any more effective than doing it electronically via email. And if you really were insecure about the sample size, then we could send you a simple statement stuffer that would go in the statement with your monthly statement with a QR code that asks people to take the survey. You know, so that's a QR code or a link.
But the monthly statement you're referring.
Yeah, Nick's unaware we don't do monthly statements. So.
Right.
Yeah.
It's why don't we quick? Yeah, it's in like our property tax bill.
Okay.
Yeah, so we piggyback on CalAM statements for one of our revenues, and we piggyback on the assessors or the treasurer tax collector statement for the other one. So.
All right, sorry about that.
That's okay. No. Do you think we would have? Do we have access to CalAM's list of people who are in the district that they would share with us? Probably not.
Probably not. We do have.
Can we give them an insert?
Yeah, well, we could do a mailing, which actually, Alvin's been asking about for a couple of years. And, we could certainly do something like the Department of Health, the COVID piece that Nick just showed us. One page, folded over little pitch for the district with a link to a survey. That would help get our message out. That's definitely an outreach tool,
Yeah.
But it's not one step.
Right, it's two steps. But we can also leverage our database of email addresses. So I think, both, and we could do those both separately and see what they yield. And, maybe it is time to do a mailer, because this will be the year, despite the phone calls I've been having with LAFCO on how slow their process is going to be. This will be the year that it'll get to a public hearing on necessity. So, one well-timed mailer, and we know if you've ever walked into a Carmel post office, how much stuff just gets immediately recycled. But it's something we could definitely pull together. Or I should say Nick could pull together for us.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Would you envision it being like a cardstock sort of thing, like a campaign piece?
That's what I was thinking, that, if you have to have a catchy first page, catchy enough title to open it up and then read the bullet points. And then even if they didn't go to the website or, click on or photograph the little
QR code.
QR. Yeah. We would still have the benefit of whatever info we put in there, that maybe it got some eyeballs. So
do you think that, I'm sorry, go ahead. Do you think that having, I don't know how long Nick, you talked about maybe 10 questions being kind of the max. Could that be in the mailer so people don't have to take a second step and go to their electronic device to answer it? I'm more likely to be sitting there with my cup of coffee and fill it out than if I have to get up and go do something.
Yeah, that would be, I'm going to be very, very curious to find out the results of the CDPH survey, because it does require a level of commitment that I don't think most consumers have, actually, you're not giving them something to respond back to. So you can do it one of two ways. If you did a mailer and you wanted a response, we'd have to put a remit envelope, like a number 9 remit envelope with a piece of paper that would be inserted in there that would be postage paid. So you will incur that expense. So you got double the postage, but if we did it in such a way that you only paid for ones that were actually processed, we also could give them a QR code, like David said, that they could actually go on their cell phone or whatever and do the survey, and give them a link. So you give them 3 ways of doing it. And with the mailing piece, yeah, you're going to pay for all the outbound mail, but you won't have the full load of that inbound mail on a postage paid envelope.
I would be curious, just as an experiment, to see what your response rate is by hand versus electronic. That's probably useful to know right now.
that would be interesting. That would be an interesting thing to tabulate with doing the survey, because I don't think there's necessarily a precedence. We do surveys a lot for other companies, and most of them are electronic, I will tell you, and a lot of them are incentivized. So for example, Ocean Mist Farms or Taylor Farms, they're giving something away to the consumer to get information, maybe a, you know, $1 coupon, $2 coupon. The Ocean Mist gave away a slow cooker, you know, for every several people that responded to the survey. So, you know, incentives, that's why there's a dollar bill, you know, on the Nielsen one, you know. It's like,
and I just threw mine away, not knowing there was a dollar bill in that envelope. I just stuffed it.
hey,
Well,
Throwing money away.
while we're on that subject, let's, by show of hands, am I a bad person? Because I always take the money and never submit the surveys.
That's what I would do if I knew to open it.
Yeah, you know, and you know, you get the little dime that's in a little cellophane thing, or a little nickel or a quarter, and you know, I've probably over my lifetime gotten $5 worth of coins from these surveys.
Well, do you use the return address little tabs that you get from charities to which you do not contribute?
I do.
World Wildlife Fund right there.
Yeah.
They're so cute with the little animals.
Yeah, they are.
Amnesty International right there.
I got a drawer full of those.
Exactly. Well, listen, let me try to get us back on track here. So provide some direction instead of going through Dave's drawers. We would, I don't know if he's got stamps in there or not. But at any rate, I think if we want to just focus on goals 5 and 6, as far as the two that would have things based on what Stephanie had said, that would be the two goals that would have items that we should take a look at. It sounds like we're all focused on the survey, truthfully. Yeah, Amy.
Yeah, I have one other suggestion that I think, just from talking to people, it's something that they worry about and they really don't know, is that I think people really need to hear that we are on top of the water supply issue, that if there's any kind of review on it, that we've got the water, and we really need to keep telling people that, because they forget instantly. And if they saw it written down, you know, here's all these sources and they add up to enough, so we're going to be off the river, etc. That kind of thing. That's the one that I run into mostly. That people, that's why they think, oh, it's got to be desal, because they don't get it.
Right.
I think that I agree with you completely, Amy. I also think, as we are all, you know, looking at drought and not, you know, pulling our head out of the sand now, and really acknowledging that, yeah, we are probably in for a long haul. I think that really makes people nervous, and it does give Cal-Am, I think, more. I think people are more interested in desal, as you had said. But honestly, from every place I go and everything I hear and every tone, I feel like that big giant project is dead.
Yeah.
Do you guys have the same experience?
Well, I don't see it moving.
Yes.
Number one, yeah, it's still bound up in
too many
battle between Coastal Commission and Cal-Am at this
problems.
point. Yeah. So at any rate, be that as it may, I think that's the thing that we need to really focus on. We need to provide people comfort.
Yeah.
That we know what we're doing. We have a plan. We've told you the plan before, but here it is again. Here's the plan. Here's what you can look at. And here, you know, and we want your input in whatever way that we could try to get that.
I think the fact that a couple of independent hydrologists have, you know, approved the numbers is important to people, not just believe us. Here it is. I think it's important.
Yeah. When you add in saltwater intrusion, seawater intrusion, which is becoming more of an issue over in the Salinas Valley and the seaside, the Salinas Valley groundwater sustainability actions that they're working on over there, I think it's all kind of coming together. I don't know if it would be nice if we didn't seem like such a limited island, you know, as far as looking at what we're planning to do. I think if we could throw the word regional in a little bit to show that we are open to, you know, not getting out of our lane unintentionally, but having more of a relay where we're working together to come up with a solution that's going to work for everybody, not just in the separate sides.
Yeah, broader consideration.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as I listen to this, I think it does it does speak to maybe a mailer that's also then timed with, you know, similar imagery and points in either our branding ads, or if you remember ever seeing the Decade of Excellence piece that we did that was really pretty lengthy, but, you know, it was a full page of the Herald, full page of Pinecone, as well as full page of the Weekly. You know, if we did a mailer that, you know, had multiple objectives, one is to educate, one is to have the potential for survey responses tied with the print ads roughly the same time, then you can get that kind of messaging out. Mm-hmm. I think we can also do an electronic survey of a different nature or a different timing. But I think that, you know, the messaging is important. The problem I'm having, and I know we've got 2 attendees on, so I don't want to get into the details, but, you know, our aquifer storage and recovery project is pretty much, you know, all the consultants who've modeled it and all the work that John's done and that I've looked at, it is a long-term supply for the community. Right now, it's severely impacted by weather because, you know, we've had to operate it differently during the CDO than we would operate it post-CDO. And so right now, trying to say all these good things about the portfolio of supply that we have, including pure water expansion, in the long run, it's absolutely accurate. In the short run, we may have problems if we have a second dry year in saying we have enough water, because what we'll be doing is stealing or taking water out of the bank. And if we don't put any back in, it's problematic. If we had pure water expansion, then we'd be taking that excess capacity and putting that in the ground, and that would offset any ASR water that we're unable to put in the ground due to a dry year. So they would work very well together. But right now, and for the next 36 months, if we have another dry year, ASR is impacted and we don't have the new water project online. So we have this kind of short-term what's happening today versus long-term what we need for the community. And they're slightly different answers. So what Amy said is absolutely true, that we know we've got enough water. It's been looked at by outside consultants. It's not just our opinion, but in the short run, you know, the actual experience may be a little bit different for the, you know, the next couple of years. So
is 36 months what we're looking for before we will be able to have the pure water expansion actually up and running?
So pure water expansion, if somebody said go, it's about 20 months on paper, which I kind of say means really 30 months. And the desal project, if somebody said go, it's 36 months on paper, which means it's probably, you know, 42 months, 3.5 years. But, you know, when Judge Villarreal overturned the county permits, you know, a month ago, it's not just the Coastal Commission now. It's, you know, it's all the way back to, I mean, there's a lot of work. And so when CalAm says, well, we really think desal is still the way to go, it may be, but just getting it started is slow. If they would just say, let's do pure water expansion, they would be surprised when it's done and it's working and it's providing all the water. They would have to rethink their whole long-term plan, because we, you know, what we say is more likely true than what they say, which means we'll have more than enough water for 3 decades, but even if it's not, if the growth curve takes off, you know, exceeds our expectations, you still have 15, 20 years before you're going to need your next increment of supply. And so you're given the luxury of going out 5 years without the CDO and looking at what happens. And then if you look back and you say, we're not growing as fast as we thought we were, so we've got even more water than we need. Or you look back and go, oh, we're growing a little bit faster than we thought we were, faster than AMBAG thought we were, faster than anybody thought we were. Okay, let's get started on planning for the next increment of supply. But you really do have that time. I mean, this one little piece of, you know, 2,200 acre feet of water buys you so much opportunity to rethink your future at such a lower cost. And so, you know, all of this is true, except in the immediate term, without either, you know, desal or pure water expansion, we will be sitting there right on the edge, because the legal limit comes down December 31st of this calendar year. And then we have to figure out how to survive. And that's going to be a challenge for a couple of years.
I think that absolutely has to be part of the message that we send out, because people are talking already. If we're in a drought and we have to cut back 1,000 acre feet, how are we going to survive? And
right.
You know, the rationing term word is up, all of those things. So I think we've got to come up with a response to that. And forgive me, but I see Karen's had her hand up for a while. So let me go to her and then we'll come back to this.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, to follow up on what you were saying a moment ago, Mary, about addressing people's concern about drought and shortages. To me, the conversations I have with people, the supply is the big issue for the people I hear from generally. So I agree with what you're saying, and you know, it's an opportunity to explain some of the things, the supply issues that Dave was just talking about, but also let people know that part of the district's job is this long-term planning, because you know, water supply development is inherently a long-term project, not just desal, but any form of supply, developing supply, and that what the planning the district is doing is to address climate change and drought scenarios. That is part of the reason for the long-term planning. So at least that people know, yes, we're definitely taking these scenarios into account in our planning. And I guess as part of that, we need to educate people about the supply and demand issues and the source water for pure water, which Cal-Am keeps bringing up.
You know, go ahead, Amy, you, and then I'll make a comment.
No, go ahead.
I worry though, I don't think we ought to be playing defense. You know, I really don't. I feel that it would be very easy for us to just spend all of our money, all of our time and all of our efforts, you know, defending what it is that we're saying, rather than proactively just stating what the facts are and what the truth is. So although I agree with virtually everything you said, Karen, I don't feel that we should start to say Cal-Am is saying this and that's not true. I think that, you know, that's what my thought is.
I agree. I totally agree. It can be all stated in an affirmative way without even referring to Cal-Am.
And that's one of our goals, is just to be out front as the organization that
we are to be a regional leader on water issues.
Regional leader, right?
Raise the district profile and instill public trust.
Right.
Emblazoned on my chest. But you know, I feel like it is the key to use the word comfort earlier, but to ensure that people feel confident in where we're going, and that they're, you know, if we have any kind of Achilles heel, you know, that Cal-Am will try to come in and, you know, mush something new and different on us that might be difficult. I think I know that might sound a little paranoid, but
it's the nature of competition. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
It seems to me the punchline for what the problem that Dave was just talking about that interim period of a few years, is the sooner we get the expansion up and running, the better.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And what do we need to do now that M1 Water Board has approved moving forward with the SEIR? What can we do? Is there something we can do? I know it's not on our agenda, but I think that's for us to have in mind.
Yeah, I have a meeting on Tuesday that will probably inform a little more with Rich Vinland and Ian Crooks of CalAm and Paul Sciutto, where we're talking about amending the water purchase agreement at a minimum for the short term. But we will end up talking about pure water expansion. So, see, we can get more water out of the current first phase of the project. It was designed for far more water than we're putting in the ground. So with the two new deep wells, we'll be able to leverage that a little bit. And so what I call the short-term problem, I think we're going to be able to address with additional water from the first phase of Pure Water Monterey.
That's great.
Which, by the way, is some other reason to, toot our horn, because here's a project that, DCEL's been in delay, permit problems, hasn't moved forward. The state board's unyielding. They're going to hold CalAm to its legal limit on the river next year. And how do we take care of that problem? Well, we put more water out from Pure Water Monterey because we're there for you. And, if we hadn't done that, if we hadn't built it a little big and if we hadn't increased the capacity, it would be a bigger problem than I've been talking about. So I think that actually makes the problem go away.
That's a big
next water year is an interesting one because of the way the CDO is written. We may not have a problem if the state interprets it the way we are encouraging CalAm to interpret it. I've already had a conversation with the state legal staff. They want a proposal from CalAm, from the community, rather than having these discussions and providing direction. So I've talked to, we're a little off topic, but I've talked to CalAm's attorney up in Sacramento. They understand our point. And the point is that it's a hybrid year. We've got a piece of this year, 3 months, October, November, December, which are within the context of the CDO at a higher level with some credits that carry over. And then after December 31st, so next calendar year, we've got 9 months of the water year that are ratcheted down to the very baseline water right. And so if you combine the two, that hybrid year is actually better than just being at the baseline. And so that little nuance could be what we need to get through next year and wait for another winter to see if we get any rain and what the impact on aquifer storage and recovery is. And then the third well comes online in November. The fourth well comes of 21, and then the fourth well in roughly February or March of 22. And those will take some startup time and not be completely efficient. And maybe we have to do some conditioning like we did with the first two wells, which is like a 6-week process. But if everything aligns with the interpretation of that hybrid year, the new wells coming online, then even if we have another dry year, we'll get through. So I'm all preoccupied, of course, with just getting through, but the long-term message is exactly what you guys are talking about, which is we've got the water. This is the project that will take us through. I think that the two big messages are Pure Water Monterey expansion is part of the portfolio that gets us to where we need to be for long-term growth and stability here on the peninsula. And then Measure J. Those are our two big pieces right now. But I agree with it. Don't be on the defensive. Don't say, well, CalAm's wrong, CalAm's this, CalAm's that. It's just we need a positive affirmative message out there.
Agreed.
Amy, and
I
then
think,
Karen, and then me.
yeah, I think that, you know, what you're talking about, Dave, that we can also toot your horn, our horn, about getting those wells 3 and 4 built. It's kind of that, you know, that was prescient, and we saw the need, and here's another advantage for it, not just regular, not just for the 3,500 acre feet, but for this benefit that you're talking about.
Challenging time, yeah.
Yeah, let's just use it to our advantage and the district's advantage, and that's great. I mean, I didn't know, I never knew that there was any more capacity than the 3,500, but that's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's it's relieving from my standpoint.
Yeah.
Karen, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
No, just to say that, you know, when I refer to, you know, Cal-Am raising issues about the source water and the supply and demand, I mean, I completely agree with what you, Mary, and you, Dave, are saying about a positive and affirmative way of framing our points. I was just referring that for internal discussion purposes, but I completely agree that, you know, we should keep the focus on what we are doing that meets the needs of the moment and the future needs. Yeah.
So I
another little comment for those people, you know, the it factor issue, and interestingly, my cousin in Sacramento said this yesterday too when we were talking. You know, it doesn't hurt us to toot the horn of Monterey One Water, Pure Water Monterey, that it's an award-winning, that we are partners with this award-winning, national award-winning plant, and it's the way of the future. It, you know, lots of other communities are doing this, and you know, we're there, and we did a great job. They did it. Yeah, the big we.
Right.
We should make it clear that we're, you know, that we're on this train together.
Yep.
So how do we do this? Because, and just one second, Karen, one of the things I'm conscious of from your comments, Dave, specifically, how do we get that information to the public? Because, you know, I have just learned things from what you just said just now, which is great. And you know, I do not claim to be any kind of an expert in water or anything else at this point, a mile wide and about an inch deep on, you know, lots of things. But the truth is, this is what we have to be able to bring forward to the public. You know, all of these issues, like the other kind, the 2 wells coming in, and you know, we can do more with the Pure Water Monterey as it stands now. That, you know, let's accept the fact, let's assume that we're going to be in a drought. Let's assume we are going to have another dry year. Let's work from that assumption. And then if it's not so, yay, us. But if it is, we are totally prepared. And so, and the people who are in the community will be able to know and share that. And I understand the difficulty that you have because you're in, you know, like confidential type meetings that we can't just share with the public because it may not turn out to be so. But there's got to be some kind of a middle ground where we can really start to ensure people's confidence. Not in any entity, not in Pure Water Monterey or Public Water Now or Measure J or anything, in just that they're going to have enough water, that they're going to be able to have enough water. I think that's the main issue that we've got to keep focused on from wherever it comes. I think that's what people worry about. Stephanie, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I was just thinking all of what you just said is really important, and how do you get the word out there? And I think we've talked about doing semi-annual newsletters, and maybe that's what we need to be focusing on, is getting something together by, say, July that goes out, that has information about Pure Water Monterey, the wells that we've done, you know, what Dave just said, that talks about our conservation rationing plan, and what would happen with that or where we are at that point, because I think we'll probably have some revisions coming up. You know, we can, and these various different things that we are doing, and put that in a newsletter and just send it out to our constituents in the district.
Nick, thank you, Stephanie, great.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, you know, we need to almost handle this like a capital campaign for a nonprofit organization in a way, you know, where we, you know, we're kind of out, we're laying out a plan, you know, here's the plan. And I'm not sure, David, and forgive me, I don't know if it's a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan with the production of the additional well 3 and 4. I'm not sure the time span, but if we can do like I call it a plan document, a plan for the future. And in year 1, this is what we did, and this is what was accomplished. Year 2, this is what we did, this is what still needs to be done. Year 3, this is, and boom, boom, boom. So it shows proactive, it's not defensive, right. It's factual, it doesn't over toot the horn. It just, you know, it's, you know, keeps things kind of, takes the emotion out of it. But then I also think we do need to kind of pump up the idea that this, you know, this is an award-winning plan. We need, because that would give people confidence, and it'll show that others outside of, you know, our own sphere of influence, you know, you elected officials, the management, the customers or whatever, that people outside recognize this as a solid plan for the future. And boom, that's, you know, that's kind of how I see it.
Yep. You know, it just strikes me that everything we are talking about, you know, irrespective of the message, we're kind of circulating back to something that we've been shy to do, which is a physical mailer of some kind. Mm-hmm. And I think that now might be the time because of the, you know, the important things that we're going to be dealing with. So
yeah. Has anybody seen, I really like the COD mailers. I mean, I've been looking at them for 20 years and they are great.
The Carmel Area Wastewater District.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took that last one that they did on the flushable wipes. Yeah. I don't know if it was memorable, but it was pretty straightforward because they're really not flushable, and they showed a graphic photo of this.
They sure did.
Stuff. Yeah. And then you flip it over and, you know, here's a, you know, kind of a happy little schematic of your house and the pipes in the ground and how your sewer works. And I took that and I sent it to Paul Sciutto because I said, you know, this actually works. And, you know, I'm usually immune to that kind of stuff. And I looked at it.
I like them all. They all have a little microorganisms and just, I don't know, just on the side, I have gotten to know COD very well in the last couple of weeks because we have had 3 explosions of sewer water come through our path and out underneath our retaining wall and so forth. Oh. And they have been here with their massive roto-rooters and their, you know, colonoscopy kind of viewing thing. And I hope it's finally solved, but we got to know where all of our 100-year-old pipes were. That was worrisome. Anyway, but that is a really good newsletter.
Yeah, and Mary, I don't know if you get, well, certainly you get the PBCSD mailings. Do you look at them or do you pitch them?
I read them every time I get them.
Yeah, and I think that's...
But I'm that way, you know.
Yeah, and I'm that way too. I at least look at them to see if there's something of interest. I open them, you know, because it's usually for... And I think that's always been the dissonance that we've had is nobody wanted to spend the money on mailers because they thought that nobody reads them. But here's, you know, an example of 3 people talking about 2 different mailers that we look at. So,
and if those fun pictures like you talked about with the wipes, you get people. If you get people in the pictures, like the people from the district and doing their job, you know, whether they're out wherever it is at the new ASR facility or whatever, that attracts people and they see who's working. It's a good feeling.
Especially anything that's on the river with the fish, that's going to
right.
People notice that. But I feel like I need to keep us back on track, and I think we're there to a certain degree. But I wanted to ask a question about the plan as Nick had laid out. I should know the answer to this. Are we in the middle of a 5-year plan, or could we kind of say that we are?
We could kind of say that we are.
Because truthfully, I mean, what we have accomplished in the last several years is significant. And we want to say, this is what we had planned, and look, this is what we did. I think that approach is very, very good. And here's where we are right now, and here's where we're going next. People will always think, oh, I must have missed that first 2 years. But one of them was a COVID year. Everybody forgets what happened that year.
Yeah.
But I don't want to sound like I'm being, duplicitous in any sense. But, I don't know that we actually have a written plan that we are following that maybe.
No, we don't. And I should bring you into my office and show you the 5 things that I planned to accomplish when I first came here. One of which was rescue the regional desal plant. So I failed on that one. The other one was lift the CDO. But one of them was getting out into the community and so forth. So sometimes, we plan, but I got here and I thought, oh, this would be great. We'll get a long-term water supply done in 5 years and then I'll retire. Well, we know how that one went.
With that.
Yeah. So we're basically, we're in the midst of the plan, which is lift the CDO. I mean, it was throw everything at a long-term water supply to lift the CDO, to get the focus. See, water agencies aren't supposed to be fun or talked about or in the press. They're supposed to just, you're supposed to open your tap and water comes out, and that's as interesting as it's supposed to get. Kind of like the sewer agencies, right? As long as you're
electricity.
Yeah, and electricity. And that's where we want to get to. And so that everything was focused on just getting a long-term water supply. And then what happened was there was only one choice. And near the end of that one choice, there became a second choice. And everyone felt that, oh my gosh, all of the inertia and all of the effort behind that first choice then went to waste, and nobody wanted to give up on it, which is why we haven't had a strong hearing on pure water expansion. But the fact of the matter is, it's $1 billion cheaper over 30 years. So, but yeah, there's no written plan. The plan was simply, we had one choice and let's pursue it. And then it had the EIR problems with it, just extended time, which is interesting because that then flipped the race between the tortoise and the hare. So Pure Water Monterey Phase 1 always was kind of expected, and frankly, the way the EIR was written and the way the application to the PUC was written was, if those public agencies can get this project off the ground and make it work at a reasonable cost, then we, the utility, Cal-Am, will downsize our desal plant. And then what ultimately happened was, not only could we get our act together, but we got our act together ahead of the desal plant. And so that changed the way the conversation went, which is, hey, we've got this project over here that's actually delivering water. Now we know it can deliver more water. Do we really need that desal plant? And I don't think you could have ever written a 5-year plan that anticipated that. But yeah, I don't want to say we're winging it. We're not winging it, but there is no plan.
Yeah. Well, we certainly have been on a path, and perhaps using a term other than plan might be the way to go. This is the path that we embarked on X number of years ago, and here's where we are. And we are not going to be diverted. We've had a few detours, but we're still on the same path.
Yeah, I think certainly a plan for the future, near term and long term could be crafted. Yeah.
The path for water independence.
There you go.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So let's talk about what our next steps are as our own committee so that we can move forward a little bit today. We talked about a survey, and we didn't talk about the cost of the survey. We talked about some sort of a mailer, which I think is becoming like more and more, you know, the choice. If whether we could rely solely on electronic or if we need to do paper, and it sounds like we're thinking both. And then I wanted to ask, is there someone, maybe Nick, you know this, is there someone within the community who is like within the media, who is the water champion? You know, now we've lost Jim Johnson. So I don't know if Dennis Taylor is a water person or if Jim Herrera is.
Yeah.
And I know I'm talking about the newspaper that only 4 of us still get. But, you know, it's, or is it somebody within the Weekly or the Pinecone? You know, who is the water knowledge? Who has
right
from in the media?
Yeah, so Dennis has been assigned to the water beat.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's trying really hard to get up to speed quickly, and he's relying on a lot of people to kind of counsel him. Mm-hmm. So I think he'll be good. Chris Neely is the new guy at the Weekly, and he's written some decent pieces already, and he's got that task. While we've been on the phone, Sarah Rubin just called and left me a message, so I don't know what's up over at the Weekly, but and then the Pinecone, you know, there's no change over there. It's Kelly Nix, and you know, he'll on a semi-frequent basis say, anything happening in the water world I should know about, you know. So that's it in the print media.
Wait. Cedar Street Times.
Oh, yes. And Stephanie, you want to engage there? Yeah.
I've been writing this monthly column called Our Water in the Cedar Street Times. We can use that, or Dave, you can write a piece for the Cedar Street Times too. I'm sure that Marjan will be happy to run it.
Yep.
You could also put an ad at a good time if it makes sense. So.
Well, yep. Nick, did we included them this? Yeah, yep. We're running ads right now in Cedar Street.
Yeah,
they're very helpful. I mean, I like them. They'll if we give them some good journalism, they'll print it. And then other nice thing about it is you know, at the end of the day, when you're in black and white, when you're in print, it adds validity to your message no matter what. So yes. We can always, you know, repost those on social media. We can repost those on your website. We can use them in multiple places.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But Mary, your summary is right on. So what we're going to do, or what Stephanie's going to do, is huddle up with Nick and then try to develop a budget for next year. And I think it'll be based on 2 print pieces, you know, 6 months apart, one of which can be used as a vehicle to promote a survey. I think we'll also maybe independently develop an electronic survey. I don't know about that one, but we'll take what we've learned here and huddle up and come back, I think, at the next meeting and say, here are the big things we're going to do. We're going to keep doing the branding ads. And yes, we've now included the Cedar Street Times. And Marjan should be happy about that. Is Rudy still writing much for the Cedar Street Times, or is he kind of?
Not much, not often.
Yeah.
And when he has written, it's no longer only about water. He writes about some other things, but he probably will do it again, I'm sure.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about the annual report? Or are we?
We're going to head to that one.
Should I? Yeah, we've got to move on so we can go to that. You know, that sounds really great that Stephanie and Nick will come back to us now, you know, soon with what the plan will be and the budget. One thing I just thought about that we used to do, and I don't know whether this would be possible, but we're close to it in the day of COVID, to have like a media briefing. With Dave, if we had just a little bit more flesh on the things that you just told us, to have a group come in, and if we feed them, they will come and have lunch, you know, truly. And then, you know, 6 feet apart, I think we could probably do that. and lay out, here are the concepts, here's what we're doing, here's, and give them a much less, structured way of getting on our side and getting brought up to date of where we actually are. I think that kind of thing might be something we really should consider, and it's inexpensive as hell. And you really get a lot of mileage out of it.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Great idea. Yeah.
So maybe you could throw that into the mix when we talk about, what we're going to be doing, next.
I think that Chris Counts is also very interested at the Pine Point.
Yes.
I talked to him a lot about music. He calls me for our concert series, but then we get into long conversations, and he knows quite a bit about it.
He's been there a long time.
Yeah. And he's interested in it. He's passionate about it. So he would be somebody good on the Pine Cone that would be fact-based, more fact-based.
Yeah, it's interesting how Paul has kind of, targeted. So it's Chris, Kelly, and Mary mostly that, fill that paper.
Mm-hmm.
And, Chris gets all the big SIR stuff. He gets more of the environmental stuff.
Right.
But he's only done water stuff when Kelly's been on vacation. So
he's interested.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Okay. So shall we move forward? I know I've got to get us out of here before too long. The annual report. So everybody's had an opportunity to look at it. You want to talk about it?
Yes.
And then we can talk about it. So I'll go to staff first.
Just by background, we've never, well, I can't say never. So 20 years ago, we had a pretty substantive annual report. Then they went to almost nothing. This is kind of middle ground in that we have a legislative obligation to produce an annual report. And so this has been the format for probably the last 6-7 years. I'm not wedded to it, but for this year, we need to file something and approve it at the board level. And so we're kind of stuck with this form. But if you have a desire to change it, and again, if we're going to head in the direction of, 2 mailers a year, 2 newsletters or something like that, we could change our format to make one of them the annual report. But that timing would always be kind of April, May, as opposed to summer, winter. So one thing I just noticed is goal 3A says bring in the Los Padres alternative study to conclusion within a year, which is what I thought the timing was until we wrote the annual report. And I noticed that my guys have written Los Padres Dam improvements to be complete by July of 2022. So that's not quite within the year, but it's close. But anyway, this format, so I had each division update their section. So it's relatively current, relatively accurate.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad piece to just kind of describe what we did last calendar year.
It's interesting, actually. But I would, if I were to get, I don't know what percentage of people would look at this, given how they don't even read a newspaper. I think that if you continued on the idea of a newsletter, you could refer to the annual report in some exciting text or something, and people could go online and read it, rather than spending the money on a mailer that is an annual report that's really a text heavy.
Yeah. I mean,
Agreed.
People like infograms,
right.
Really just show me some pictures with some big print, and then I'll understand it. This is wonderful. It is very interesting. And I read the whole thing, but again, we are the geeks. I don't think that there are many other people who would look at this and it would just be too overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Like every single one of these things could be a paper unto itself. It's wonderful, but it's just a whole lot of words.
It's an annual report, it's what it's supposed to be, right? Details.
Yeah, it's interesting. We print up about 100 of them and just leave them in the lobby. And every year, maybe a third to half of them actually disappear. So people, you know, while they're waiting, I think to have plans checked or something, you know, they'll grab them and, you know, take them home to recycle.
I have two questions. Oh, go ahead, Karen.
Karen?
Well, I'm thinking of the potential multi-purposes of the annual report. First, I want to say I think it's well done. I have not thought about format, but I have gone through it really carefully, and I've taken notes for some editing suggestions. I don't want to take up committee time with this, but Stephanie, if you want, I can send you a document with my suggestions for it, mostly, you know, very small changes, language, you know.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll do that. And to the bigger point about the type of, I like that you were saying it's a lot of text. I actually like that it's relatively short, but of course, you know, I'm used, and we can think about the multiple purposes of this, besides that it's required by, you know, for the legislature, the journalists, we're talking about educating the journalists, especially those who are new to this topic. And, you know, Mary's idea of looking at a time frame, sort of what we've done so far and, you know, long-term and short-term planning, maybe could be put in some graphic format that could be included in the annual report on one page. So that could be taken out and used in various other places. You know, what we've, you know, when the Pure Water Monterey was started, when it was completed, what it's producing, the
just sort of
ASR.
Have a timeline that goes alongside of all of this.
Right. And
yes,
an ASR and yeah.
So I like that it's short. I don't think it should be longer, but I think it would be hard. I mean, it could make it shorter if you want to work on that, but it would be hard, don't you think, Stephanie, to make it shorter and include the content that we want to include? Or
yeah,
Dave,
I think we do try to keep it as short as we can. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's driven by format. So what you see right now is, you know, standard letter size, 4 pages, but then it gets printed on 11 by 17, you know, page 4 and page 1 on one side, page 2 and 3 on the other. So when you fold it, it reads, you know, in book format in order. So, you know, it wouldn't make sense to make it 3 pages. So you've got 4 pages to work with or 2 pages to work with. And so we, you know, try to keep it to 4 pages.
And I thought the descriptions of things, I mean, I don't know that I would have understood them without the descriptions, without the, you know, the expansion of things like the summer splash, or whether it was the conservation or whatever it was. I think it was, I like it. I think it's really, really well done.
Well, then if you're willing to recommend it to the full board, as is with Karen's edits that she'll send, then I think we're done. You know, it is what it is. One little piece of just background information, the very last item, groundwater zone charge.
Yeah.
It's a requirement of the report. So we include this, and it's absurd because, you know, obviously, as it says, we've not done it in several decades. But we have to, you know, it's just the one requirement that's called out in our legislation that has to cover. So there it is.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I thought, can't this go in a footnote?
And, well, so I was going to leave it out because I finally got sick of it. And then I thought, you know, that's just the type of thing somebody's going to pick up on and go, you know, you didn't do the one thing you're supposed to do in your annual report. So. And
it says zone charge and charge zone. So I was wondering, what is it? The second time it's mentioned on this.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
It's zone charge, groundwater zone charge.
It's a groundwater zone charge. So, yeah.
But we definitely are not going, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, what does it mean?
Well, exactly.
Can we put it in a footnote? Seriously.
Yeah, that may be the way to go, because it's so irrelevant. You know, it's like the last draft pick in a sports draft. They call him Mr. Irrelevant. So this is the we have the ability to set up groundwater replenishment zones or groundwater extraction zones, and we've never done it. Even though it says we approve formation of groundwater charge, it's like a pumping tax. Think of it that way. So as you extract, so
charge is money, not charging the ground with water.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, I didn't get that, but thank you.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to go in just a moment, just to let you know.
Well, thank you for all of your comments, and also specifically, thank you for your comments on the annual report.
Yeah, and I think we're there. We'll fix the groundwater zone charge section, or we'll ostracize it or footnote it or something, but we'll definitely clean it up. But if you're comfortable with everything else that you see, I just wanted to make sure that it's coming from the outreach committee to the board, that you've reviewed it. So
right. So there's not one mention of the cease and desist order or anything along that I have seen. And I know it's an annual report, but I feel like that's going to be top of mind for a lot of people, since everybody knows that we're going to have to change things at the end of this calendar year. Do you not feel like we should have something that relates to that? And we're not going to mail this, correct? This is just, correct. It's like we have to do it. Let's just get it done.
Well, yeah, and it'll be in the board packet, so everybody who's on that distribution list will see it. If they
no, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see your point about the CDO, and yeah, I'm not sure. You know, looking forward, there is a forward-looking piece as we get into the water supply stuff. So future capital improvements, but you're right. There is no mention of the CDO, which seems odd. Okay.
Sure.
And the Pure Water Monterey project doesn't have any, I know, you know, it's not like we could give an update, because this ends, I assume this purportedly.
Yeah, it's last
December. Yeah, but those are my only two comments.
No, those are good. Okay.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, did you feel like you got direction on that?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, I think we're set.
Okay, and then the review the proposed water efficiency workshops is our last informational item.
Yeah, and I'm going to let Stephanie Kister just quickly go over what the plan is. I know we gave you a pretty detailed description in the staff report. So Stephanie, you want to go ahead and?
Yes, hello again.
Excuse me just for a moment. Aren't we supposed to get a
go out to the public
vote?
I'm so sorry. I'm so caught up with this. Yeah, my bad. On both items. Yeah, on both items, we're going to have to. They're action items. So forgive me, but we'll have to go backwards. And I will going back to item number 2, providing direction. I'd like to take this item number 2 out to the public. Forgive me for being so caught up in the moment. So this is the item to provide direction on the outreach program following the establishment of strategic planning goals. The staff recommendation is the committee should review the strategic goals and objectives and provide direction. So I'd like to go out to the public and see if there's anyone who has any interest in commenting on this item.
Supervisor Chair Adams, I do not see anybody with their hands raised.
Thank you very much. So then let's bring it back to the committee for a vote.
Yeah, I move that we approve action item 2, direction on the outreach program. And can we do?
Yeah, I'm not sure that you actually even need to do you've provided direction at this point, so I don't think there's any further action needed.
All right.
Yeah.
That's it. All right.
We do not need to have a full vote on this?
Okay. Yeah, even though it's action, I think what you've done is you've said yes to some print pieces, yes to survey, a constituent survey. And so I think we have direction, yeah.
Okay, and we have accepted the staff's recommendation.
And then I think in the minutes, I could just say for items number 2 and number 3, via consensus, the board provided a direction to staff, and then
committee.
word it that way.
Yep.
Okay, and then with 3 though, I feel like I do need to go out to the public.
Yes.
So for this is going backwards then, Joelle, to item number 3, develop recommendation to the board regarding adoption of the 2020 annual report. Recommendation from staff as a committee should make changes to the report and then recommend adoption by the board at its meeting in May 17, 2021. And is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item?
Let's give it a couple seconds here. And Supervisor Chair Adams, I do not see anybody with their hands raised.
Great. Okay, so thank you. And with that, we will accept the staff's recommendation and move forward then to item number 4.
Hey, Stephanie.
Alrighty. So you guys are provided with our schedule of classes for the year. Some of these are already developed and rolling out. So for Water Awareness Month this month, we are hosting 3 classes, compost class, gray water, and garden design. So one great way that we get promotion on these is actually through the Caliam, email blast or whatnot that they send to their customers. So we've got a lot of signups rolling in there. And then following that, we're going to be doing our Summer Splash Water Challenge giveaway for the 2nd time. So this is a game board style challenge that's kind of for families and an educational piece. We'll go to the event website and view some videos or a website to get some information and hunt for their answers. And then they get to turn in their game board for a chance to win a prize. So this is kind of obviously our COVID outreach effort that keeps us away from other people. And then we are working on a Mulch Madness mulch giveaway, which will be later this summer. If we're able to get that lined up, and it would get free mulch to customers. We are trying to figure out a way to do a nominal kind of charge or fee that they would pay just to make sure that you have that buy-in and from folks, and the mulch is going to go to good use. So that's in planning. And then we'll finish off the year with another round of educational classes. We always do rainwater, in October type time frame. And that's where we're at.
Great.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hey, really quick, Stephanie Locke, can you put up the print ads from this week's papers?
That's nice.
Yeah,
that.
very nice.
Sorry about that.
So we're trying to be subtle on the drought issue. We're not calling it a drought yet because it's just a single dry year. But so this is our standard. And did we agree, Stephanie, that we'll run it again next week in full half-page mode?
Yes.
Okay. But then go to the other ones related to the workshops, just so
that one is
the committee can see it.
So this is the compost.
Uh-huh.
And that's the first one.
That's in the weekly this week and probably in the Pine Cone today.
And
Cedar Street.
And
Cedar Street.
And on all over Facebook. And
like the big drop, small drop.
Yeah.
It's a great design.
And then the garden design workshop, which is the 25th of May.
And that's in also this week. And then this one will go in.
Actually, these are out of order, but.
Oh, okay. So
yes, this is the 18th.
So the last one, garden design, that one's not in yet, right?
I think, Nick, is that going in starting next week or?
Yeah, and there's some overlap because of the dates. So there's actually going to be times when all 3 ads are going to be running at the same time.
But anyway, what one of the things that you just commented on, I was going to point out, but you already got it, which is that double drop is kind of now, you know, somewhat iconic. I think when people page through, they'll know when they just see that out of the corner of their eye that it's a district ad. So.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm sorry to interrupt. Speaking of great press, the cover of the Pine Cone, the headline of the Pine Cone was last Friday, excuse me, not the Pine Cone, the Herald last Friday, about the district giving more time to the restaurants to serve water, whatever, however they worded it. That was great. That was in the front page.
Yeah, I saw your email on that, and that's. I hope everybody reacts that way, because that was, you know, that Stephanie being proactive a year ago and seeing that it was coming, and then being plugged in, because, you know, it's Carmel, Pacific Grove, and Monterey who really want to keep this thing going. They love the alfresco dining. They like street life. But it's going to be a problem if they want to keep it going after we're in green stage and everyone's back indoors. So I thought it was good too. It was good.
Yeah.
We're looking out for folks, but just keep in mind it's going to be an issue, because there's going to be restaurants who are going to be in violation of the rules if they go fully back indoors and keep what they have outdoors. And then we become the enforcer.
Yeah.
So
enjoy it while
not good.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any questions? And any member of the public, let's take it out to the public and see if any member of the public would like to comment on this item.
We'll give it a couple of seconds here. And Supervisor Chair Adams, I do not see anybody with their hands raised.
Thank you very much, Joelle. Okay, with that, we will simply accept that presentation. And thank you, Stephanie Kister. That was really well done. Very interesting programs that you guys have come up with. I'm excited about it. And then this is the managing the scope of work contract. And I don't know that we need to do anything on that.
No.
Okay, all righty, good. Okay, is there anybody else, any other items that anyone would like to bring forward to the board's attention, to the committee's attention at this point? Are there any suggestions for items to be on future agendas?
I have none.
No, I'm looking forward to a report back on a variety of the things that we've talked about. That's, you know, it's going to be really interesting. And I hope that we do consider that you know, media lunch informational kind of thing. I think that would
that's a great idea, because, you know, there's a lot of just big issues that I'm sure they have questions on. You know, we've got the new complaint to the PUC.
Yeah.
We've got water supply projects. We've got Measure J. And then, you know, there's going to be outdoor seating discussion and so forth. And so, yeah, I think it's a great idea as soon as we can get back together. Yeah.
Great. Good. Good. Well, honestly, there are ways of doing it now that we could do it. I mean, if we had everybody sitting 6 feet apart in our conference room and there weren't more than, you know, a handful of people, 8 people, you know, we probably would be able to handle it. So it's something to consider. Good. Okay, well, with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting and thank you all for your attention. Great to see everybody and enjoy a weekend.
Nice to meet you, Stephanie.
Try one. Thanks.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.